How's it going, guys? Cody back again, dropping out another video. Right, as you can see from the title of this video, it's about £10 million that's been earmarked from the MOJ for the 10 worst performing prisons in England and Wales. Right, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a link in the description below like I always do. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to read the story word for word, and then I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions on what the money should have been spent on as opposed to what it's actually being spent on. If you've been in any of the prisons that I'm going to mention, let me know in the comment section, guys. Let me know what you think about the video. What would you spend the money on? What do you think about what the Ministry of Justice is spending on the money on? What do you think about my thoughts, how the money should be spent? I'm interested to know. Like I say, it's a very subjective matter. Some people will have different opinions to me. Some might have the same. Some might back up the Ministry of Justice. We'll have to see, guys. Anyway, so the headline reads, Prison Minister Rory Stewart, I'll resign if drugs and violence don't go down. What he's saying is in 12 months' time, if the amount of drugs in prisons and violence hasn't subsided, he's going to resign. Right now, that I'll tell you straight now. In 12 months, he'll be resigning. Simple as that. I'll stick with that. Anyway, guys, let's read the story. So, Prisons Minister Rory Stewart says he will resign in a year if he hasn't managed to reduce drugs and violence levels in 10 target jails in England. He made the promise as government announced 10 million to improve security and conditions at the jails. New body scanners and sniffer dogs are to be introduced in the prisons, which are described as challenging, I mean, beyond words, in a clampdown on drugs and mobile phones. The dogs have been trained to detect psychoactive substances such as spice. The ministers want to raise standards of leadership by sending prison governors to military-style colleges. And there will be a programme of repairs and improvements to cell, windows and perimeter security in the prison. Speaking to the BBC, Mr. Stewart said, I believe in the prison service. I believe in our prison officers. I believe this can be turned around. I want you to judge me on those results and I will resign if I do not succeed. He added that he expected to be judged on whether he had been a substantial reduction in the numbers of assaults. Currently, guys, are seeing record numbers of assaults year on year. Asked how much of a reduction he would consider a success, he said 25% or 10%. Mr. Stewart said it would be something of that sort. The new measures are being targeted at 10 jails which the Ministry of Justice says have acute problems with high drug use, violence and building issues. They are Hull, which is a Category B prison, Humber, East Riding of Yorkshire, which is a Cat C, Leeds, Armley Jail, I did a vlog on it last night, Lindholme near Doncaster, Category C and D, Moorland, which is in Hatfield near Woodhouse, South Yorkshire, Cat C, Wealdstone near Wetherby, Cat C, Nottingham, Cat B, Ramby, Nottinghamshire, Cat C, Wormwood Scrubs, West London, Cat B, Isis, South East London, Cat C. It comes after figures published by the Ministry of Justice last month showed incidents of self-harm and assaults in prison were at record levels. Seizures of smuggled in drugs and mobile phones also rose by 23% and 15% respectively in the year to March. Mr. Stewart said the changes would pave the way for a new ethos and direction for prisons, saying it's vital we set challenging standards so prisons are places where offenders can turn their lives around. We need to make these prisons calmer, more orderly places, and in the end come down to the challenging and managing prisoners consistently, firmly and fairly. Analysis. This is by Danny Shaw, the BBC Home Affairs correspondent. While much of Whitehall is on holiday, the Ministry of Justice has been busy taking advantage of those sleepy summer and news agendas with a series of press releases about prison reform. The announcements have included a report on sport in prison, a pilot scheme to promote community sentences and plans for in-cell telephones. The latest measures, £10 million for the 10 most challenging prisons, will certainly make a difference. X-ray scanners, for example, are highly effective at drug detecting. It's just a wonder it's taken so long for them to be introduced. The energetic prison minister, Rory Stewart, who has immersed himself in the brief since he has been appointed, is right to point out that it is a key to a stable prison is leadership. But his idea to raise standards among governors with a military-style training colleges will take time to yield results. Of the 10 million investment, 6 million is being earmarked for security measures. So guys, drug sniffer dogs, body scanners, it's just drugs, dogs and drug detection measures, security for the prison. So that's not going to aid rehabilitation, but I'll go into that in a minute. 3 million for repairs and 1 million for training. The Ministry of Defence has been contacted for help in setting up a training scheme for prison governors similar to that for senior members of the armed forces. However, the Prison Reform Trust said the problems in jails were caused by a failure to match resources, not demand. Its director, Peter Dawson, said it is a catastrophic failure to provide that balance, which caused the collapse of prison safety after 2012. Trying to tell prison governors how to run prisons is not going to put it right. Shadow Justice Secretary Richard Burgeon said the government must go further and set out an emergency plan across the prisons estate with a substantial new funding to put an end to the crisis and make our prisons safe and humane for staff and inmates. There are 84,000 inmates in more than 100 prisons across England and Wales. Right, now let's get into it. Right, now, so like I say, £6 million on security. How is that going to aid rehabilitation for prisoners? It's not. £1 million training for prison officers. How's that going to help reduce reoffending rates and make sure that rehabilitation takes place within prisons? It's not. You know what I mean? Prison officers do not aid in rehabilitation, right? If you're offered a course in prison and you've got a sentencing plan and OMU have come to you and said, look, we want you to do this course, right? Now, it's about ticking a box. Now, you may want to do the course to get out your cell and stuff like that, or you may want to do the course because you know you're going to be eligible for tag in a few months or a year and a half, whatever. And it's about ticking a box, show that you're jumping through hoops, show that you're playing the game, and it's about, and then hopefully when it comes to obviously your tag, or getting parole, right? It's like, right, well, yeah, he's done all the courses asked of him, he stayed off the drugs. Do you know what I mean? You've got a much higher chance of getting out. So it's about ticking a box. You don't want to do the course, but it's about ticking that box. Simple. So that's that. Like I say, guys, prisons are is there a problem with drugs within prison? $1,000,000%. $1,000,000%. They go on about the increase in violence and stuff like that, guys. What you need to remember, right, is some people that are not knowledgeable when it comes to the prison system are like, oh, well, violence is really bad in prisons and it shouldn't be that high. But the Ministry of Justice, guys, and the Prison Officers Association, specifically, they lobbied for the smoking ban and was going to put a judicial review to get it fast-tracked, right? Smoking's a stress relief within prison, guys, right? People use it as a coping mechanism. It was also used as currency. By banning it, it pushed it into contraband. Where you've got contraband, you've got debt. Where you've got debt, you've got fear, intimidation, bullying and violence. So we've seen an increase in violence in our prisons. We're seeing record numbers of assaults from prisoner to prisoner and prisoner to prison officer year on year. We're seeing record numbers of self-harm. Mental health services are inadequate within prisons, guys, right? And like I say, so they lobbied for the smoking ban. The smoking ban's come in. There's been a rise in violence, which the Prison Officers Association lobbied for. They've then used that violence to arm themselves with pepper spray, extendable police batons or koshes. Do you know what I mean? And they want tactical use of taser. So do you know what I mean? I believe that the smoking ban was aimed at antagonising prisoners, and I stick by that. Anyway, let's go back to the £10 million for prisons. For me, only £3 million, guys, right? £3 million spread across 10 prisons, right? I mean, mainly Cat B, Cat C, and a Cat D. Do you know what I mean? Right now, £3 million is a drop in the ocean, right? Now, that is for the only bit of money that's going to aid prisoners, really, in my opinion, is that £3 million to improve conditions for prisoners. But whether it's improved or not, it's not going to aid rehabilitation, right? For me, what they're saying is they want to turn prisons, these 10 prisons, into centres for excellence, right? For me, centres of excellence means that the £10 million for me, guys, right, should have gone on skills training and education, so reform and rehabilitation can actually take place, because rehabilitation right now is a made-up word. A few million should be spent on mental health services within the prison because they're inadequate. Like I said, you know what I mean? It's crazy, guys. For me, it should be about conditions, improving conditions for prisoners, installing phones in every cell for prisoners, right? Every prisoner in every cell up and down the country should have a landline phone in their cell. Mental health services is a big, massive thing within prison. I think they need to have proper drug treatment programs where the prisoners, they bring in like an outside company to work specifically with people that are battling addiction within prison. You do need to spend some money on security, 100%, but more locks, more bolts, more doors, more barbed wire isn't going to aid rehabilitation. And like I say, the body scanners and sniffer dogs, they can do all that stuff, guys. What you need to remember is they can bring a body scanner in, right? That's gonna prisoners, when they're going through the process of coming back to the jail or landing at the jail, going through the body scanner, right? There's nothing inside you. Doesn't combat prison officers bringing the contraband in. Prison drugs are coming in, guys, every which way. Is there a problem with drugs within prison? Absolutely, massively so. Like I say, and that does fuel the violence within prisons. Like I said, you've got contraband. Where there's contraband, there's debt. Where you've got debt, you've got fear, intimidation, bullying and violence. But the £10 million, guys, for me, one, it's a drop in the ocean. It's like feeding buns to an elephant. It's not going to touch the sides. It's a step in the right direction because prisons are underfunded and under-resourced. So £10 million, but it is a nominal amount. It doesn't go far enough. And like I say, when you look at the mental health within prisons, self-harm is at a record number, right? So that's obviously stems from mental health, right? So mental health services are inadequate. So millions of pounds should be spent on that. Millions of pounds should be spent on turning the prisons into places like colleges. Give prisons, right? For me, that money should be spent on turning a bit of the prison into a college, right? On one day, these prisoners get in, another day, another wing get in, but you've got to think, you need, obviously I'm talking if we had a blank check, or with the 10 million, prisoners should be getting what they call trades, right? Trades that they can use in the outside world, right? They need nurturing while they're in prison. Prisoners need nurturing. Brutalizing prisoners doesn't aid rehabilitation, it goes right the other way. So nurture the prisoners, give them mental health services that are adequate, right? Skills training and education so that they actually stand a chance of being rehabilitated. Right, you're spending £10 million. 6 million is going on security, 1 million for the prison officers training, 3 million is going on improving conditions. Improving conditions isn't going to aid rehabilitation. It's not going to reduce reoffending rates, guys. Right? They need to plug the money into skills education, skills and training, right? And then when they leave prison, reintegration, resettlement, so they have a foundation to work up from, so that they actually feel like they've got a stake in society. They've been shown there's another way, and that crime isn't the answer. That's my opinion. You'll have to let me know what you guys think. Like I say, some money does need to go on security, like I say, but you've got corrupt staff. Prison drugs are getting in every which way, and say that the prison will. They'll be like, right, this route, this drugs are coming in this way, and then it'll stop. But prisoners are very resourceful and very clever and switched on, so they'll move to another operation how drugs get into the prison. It is that simple, guys. It's a game of cat and mouse, and unfortunately for the prison officers and for the Ministry of Justice, we are the mouse. We are one step ahead every single time. I'm going to put a link in the description, guys, as I always do. Let me know what you think about the video. Let me know how you would spend the money. Is mental health services, skills training and education so that rehabilitation can take place. If you're spending £10 million on rehabilitation, right, £10 million in prisons, right, and you're talking about like reoffending rates and things like that costing £15 billion a year, right, put the money, inject that money into the people that you want to rehabilitate. Don't spend it around them on more locks, more doors, more barbed wire, do you know what I mean? More security measures, right? Put it into rehabilitation. Prisons should be places that are based solely on rehabilitation and reform. Rather than making prisoners out of our students, we should be making students out of our prisoners. I stick by that. On that note, guys, like, comment, subscribe, Cody out.